chapter 25. Then answered Bildad the Shuhi, and said, Dominion and fear are with him. He maketh peace in the high places. Is there any number of his armies? And upon whom doth not his light arise? How then can man be just with God? Or how can he be clean that is born of woman? Behold, even the moon hath no brightness, and the stars are not pure in his sight. How much less man that is a worm, and the son of man that is a maggot. All right, let's go back up verse 1. Yesterday, Job was finishing his speech, or his reply to Eliphaz, and he's telling Eliphaz, if God's laid all this up, and God has set it in order, why doesn't anybody recognize what time it is? Here's why. Because there's those that remove the landmarks. There's those that remove the things that were set in place. So to remind us that this is what had happened, or this is what was done. And these are the wicked. These are the wicked that do that. They are the ones who have caused strife. They are the ones who's caused discontention in the earth. But we'll see that either way it goes, it all fits into the work of God. God is in control of everything. And like Job said, if it's not so, if this is not the way it is, why don't somebody stand up and prove me to be a liar, or prove my speech to be worthless? But we'll find out there's nobody that has those abilities. But Bildad, he must be one that thinks he does. Bildad means confusion. Confusion, and it's like being confused a little bit in love, to be confused by your emotions. He is the Shuhi, and that's one, like I've said, he is those, it's a plural, those that come from Shua, and that's wealth, those that come from wealth, and that's who he is, and he's confused by the love of that. But we're going to pick it up here in verse 1. Then answered Bildad the Shuhi, and said, so Bildad's going to respond again to, dominion and fear are with him. He maketh peace in his high places. Dominion and fear are with him. Dominion and fear belong to him. They are his, and that's what it insinuates, the ownership of them. Dominion, and that's the right to rule. Fear, peace, love, all things, all emotions, all the rule of all things belongs to God. He created it. It's his, and it's for his pleasure. He makes peace in his high places. Well, God doesn't have high places. That would be a plural, and that would not be what would belong to God. God said, you shall have one place. One place is not plural. And that's really not what this says. What it says is, he makes peace to be exalted. And that was the purpose he made peace, was that peace should be exalted. Peace should be lifted up. This is what men should strive for. But we'll find there's no money in it. There's no wealth in peace. There's no sustainable exaltation of those that are lifted up, or that are in power, in peace. 3. Is there any number of his armies? And upon whom doth not his light arise? Is there any number of the armies? Is there any number of God's armies? God, there's no numbering. There's no recording. There's as many people as you have in an army. God has armies. See, and not limited by the number of people that you have in your armies. Is his armies limited? And upon whom doth not his light arise? His light, his understanding, or his knowings, his knowledge, his wisdom. Well, it doth not arise on those that do not seek it. See, they seek darkness, they seek wickedness, and this would be whom it would not arise upon. 4. How then can man be just with God? Or how can he be clean that is born of a woman? And what Bildad's saying is, how can a man be just before God? How can a man be right before God? Is there any man that's clean? Is there any man who's righteous before God? How can that be, seeing that he's born of a woman? And those things that are from man. A woman means from man. And these things that come from man. But not all men are born of these things that come from man, or even those understandings that come from man. Their wives, the reflections of their understandings. This does not make you dirty. See, God made man, and God said to man, replenish the earth. So this to be born is not a sin. Neither is it born in sin. This is God's creation. This is the way God made it. God does not create filth and pollution. That would be the understanding of a man. And from there did he come. So he got the choice between right and wrong is first to be able to recognize it. See, when they partook of the fruit in the garden, God said, this day man has become like one of us. To have a knowledge, to be like God, like one of those that represent God, to have knowledge of understanding between right and wrong. See, everybody's got it. Some just won't use it. Some uses their knowledge to do wrong. They think they can manipulate the understanding of it and get by with it. But we'll find out in the end. God has the last word in everything, see, because God created everything. And how can a man be just before God? A man can be just before God by following God's ordinances and following God's laws. The prophets have said, in these shall you live. And even in these are life. See, God said, choose good. Choose to do the right thing. That you might love. See, that you might find life and find the enjoyment of it. We'll find out. Men have got a different plan. They think they can do everything. They don't need God. But we'll find out. Their understanding leads to disaster. Their understanding is destruction. Their understanding is injustice. Their understandings are imbalanced. Their understandings come from the ideas of the perceptions of their eyes. And they look upon one and they see him lowly, so he's insignificant. They look upon another and he has much, and he becomes significant just by the value of that which he's going to leave behind when he dies. See, this is the perversion of the understandings of men. But that's not so with God. God doesn't see things the way men see things. See, they look on the outside. God looks on the inside. And that's where we have our justification. Behold, 5. Behold, even the moon hath no brightness, and the stars are not pure in his sight. Behold, look, see, the moon has no brightness. The moon don't give no light at all. It's a reflection of the sun. See, that which is the lesser light to come from in the beginning to rule over the darkness in the first place is just a reflection of the greater light. See, and it's like the feminine of the sun. We can look at it that way. And the stars are not pure in his sight. These stars, these lights in heaven, the lights in heaven are always in representation to some form of understanding, some kind of knowledge we can see. See, these lights in heaven, all these understandings, these knowledges, these things that God has set there to make truths known, they're not pure in his sight. Well, we'll find out, because most of them were made known by men who can't get a clear understanding. It's like there's a fog or a confusion, some in the midst, or they stand in the midst of it. And this would be the glory of God. He does keep these things and holds them back. He has the ability to stay the water, to make it stand still. See, God has these abilities. 6. How much less man, that is a worm, and the son of man, that is a maggot. And here, Bildad's basically calling man a worm. A worm is that which works in the earth. It worketh in the earth. It is and not all men are like this. See, there are those men who does worketh in the earth to consume the remains of the carcass. See, that's what this similitude would insinuate. or the Son of Man, that one that come forth from him, who is a maggot. A maggot's, this word maggot here is the same as the other word worm. It's tola. Tola means to show pinkness, be pink. It's a worm also. But here, this maggot, this insinuation, even lower. We'll find out though in the beginning, man was a creation of God. God had purpose. God had understanding in his creation. God did not create man a maggot. God created man a man. He's not a worm. See, there's those that live like a worm, that feed off the carcasses, that feed off the flesh of others. But we'll find out the ways of the wicked are far from me. Now, we're going to move forward to chapter 26. Turn and return.